Sergio. Brand new segment here on the show, Mailbag segment, our first ever, where we take your questions on social media using the hashtag #AskMannix or #AskMora. And I got a first one from Instagram. This one's for both of us, from Hans Olsen. Should Bud Crawford move up to 160 and go trophy hunting for a title against either Carlos Adames or Erislandy Lara?
No, I don't think he should. And I think, we saw what we saw at 154 with Madrimov and Bud Crawford. I think that's going to be a ceiling. Even though he is, the best pound for pound boxer in the world, there's limits to his size. I think 154 was his limit. He shouldn't go north of that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's not the size per se, it's the significance of the fight. And look, Terence Crawford has won titles in 4 different weight classes. He's been undisputed in 2. He is an unquestioned first ballot Hall of Famer whenever his career is over. Going up to fight Carlos Adames or Erislandy Lara, 2 guys I think he might beat. I think he would beat. Like, Adames is a former 154-pounder. Lara is a former 154-pounder. Like, these guys are not going to have big size advantages over Crawford. I just didn't think there's a point to it. There's not a lot of money in it for Terence Crawford. He should be looking at a mega fight against Canelo Alvarez, or looking at the super welterweight division. Look, maybe Errol Spence surprises us and beats Fundora.
Wait a minute. I can see him with Lara. Lara just, he's still there. He's still on the championship level. And Lara's not a puncher. And
No, I think he wins. I think Crawford wins that fight.
Yeah, that's a
I just don't see I don't see the point. Like, how much money is in that fight? Like, Crawford is a money-weight fighter right now, not a middleweight fighter.
There's intrigue, man. Lara's never been he's never been stopped. He holds a title, right? He holds a title now.
He does. He beat Danny Garcia.
There you go. I think that one makes sense, man.
So now you want him to fight?
No, I didn't say want, but who's he going to go from here? Where's he going to go from here?
I think he goes nowhere. I think it's Canelo Alvarez.
There you go.
Bust.
You go against a guy that is very familiar in the boxing game. Lara's fought absolutely everybody. Yeah, I like that fight.
I don't think it does anything for Terence Crawford. I think Crawford's going to fight for like $45 or $50 million against Canelo, or he's going to walk away.
Well, I love that fight as a boxer because Lara's never been stopped. Crawford, we know, is going to try to stop him, and it'll be a feather in his cap if he can be the first to stop the Cuban assassin in Erislandy Lara and pick up another strap at 154.
I still don't know what your answer is to the question. Do you want him to fight a Adames or a Lara or not?
Why convince myself right now? So yeah, I think Hans, was that his name? Hans? I think of Hans. I think of the bad guy from Die Hard.
Hans Gruber, yes.
Hans Gruber.
Yes. Shout out Hans Gruber.
Hans, you just convinced me. I like that Lara fight.
All right, this question from Twitter. Lawrence Morgan. What is really going on with PBC and Amazon? No advertising during Thursday Night Football at the homepage for Prime Video. Only a handful of shows that were mostly pay-per-view. Is the end near? This is more a question for me on PBC. I never want to count Al Heyman out because he's proven time and again he is really good at this boxing game. But this PBC deal was announced, and it was billed as this double-digit shows, lots of fights on Amazon Prime. Instead, we have gotten 4 pay-per-views with another one coming in December, and only 1 fight on Prime Video. Now, that was a great card, and I hope they do more of those types of cards. But I think PBC is in a problematic place right now with this deal because it is not a traditional Showtime, HBO, DAZN type of deal. There isn't a lot of guaranteed money coming from Amazon. They are distributors for these shows, but they are not providers in the traditional way. So I don't think PBC, Al Heyman, they're not going away anytime soon, but this Amazon deal may not be enough for them. They may have to look for other platforms to do deals with to keep their guys active. But that's been a problem with PBC. Even when they had Showtime deals, their guys weren't active enough. They were only fighting once a year. Look, I saw Keith Thurman was calling that Tim Tszyu Murtalia fight. He's fought like once in the last 4.5 years. He's not fought in 2.5 years. Like, it's a former welterweight champion, unified welterweight champion. So I don't think the relationship is ending between PBC and Amazon, but I do think to keep their fighters busy, they may have to get them out there more on other platforms. This question for both of us from Nando Lamas on Twitter. Should Top Rank and Grandpa Bob make a play for Canelo Alvarez. Mbili and Beterbiev in 2025 would be fun. Canelo on ESPN would be good for the sport as well. Let you take that first.
It's the Bob father, or not Grandpa Bob. Put some respect on his name. That's a legend in Bob Arum. But I like that deal. I mean, ESPN, it's distributed in a lot more households, I would think.
In the U.S. for sure.
In the U.S., yes. And I think, the main market for Canelo is the U.S., even though he is a global fighter. And we know that he's his own jefe, his own boss. He goes from the zone to PBC. And I could see him going to ESPN. It's not the worst idea in the world, man. I really like that idea because he's a global star. And when you talk about Canelo, the casual knows him. So if you can put him up where, on an ESPN platform, as long as ESPN has a bad habit of putting basketball games that they go overtime and they go into the boxing. If they don't do that, I'm in
more
for
college football than it is basketball.
Well, if they don't do that, sport block. If they don't sport block boxing and a star like Canelo,
I'm off. Sport blocking?
Yeah. Okay. I'm all for Canelo on ESPN.
I also love the idea of Canelo on ESPN. I think that's a way to take his popularity to another level. I also know it is almost certainly never going to happen. Primarily because Top Rank officials have told me in the past that they have no intention of guaranteeing Canelo the kind of money he's looking for.
Right.
Like if Canelo wanted to come over to ESPN and Top Rank and do a deal for a fight that is based on pay-per-view revenue, I think Top Rank ESPN would be all for that. But Top Rank is not putting up 40, 45, $50 million, whatever it is, for Canelo to fight guaranteed. They're not going to take that type of risk, and I don't think ESPN is going to back them with that type of risk. So,
well, hold on, man. But I think at this point of Canelo's career, he's not going to fight monsters. He's going to stay busy with guys that make sense, and he doesn't mind stepping down in name and in recognition because he's already the best fighter in the world with the most profitable fighter. Now he just wants eyeballs, and he wants to be his own boss, going from network to network, picking and choosing who he fights. I don't think money's really an issue anymore. I think he'll cut down in pay just to stay active, relevant, and be on a new network with new set of eyeballs. I think Canelo's that type of boss.
Who should Canelo fight in his next fight?
That's a tricky one, man. They have to be at 168. If he just fought a fighter that no one really demanded in Edgar Berlanga, I think that type of opponent will make sense. He's not far from a Diego Pacheco, I'll tell you that. He's not far from a Diego Pacheco. And that fight will be very popular in the Southern California area, a fight that Canelo everyone would favor him heavily. And Pacheco is slowly but surely earning that jackpot.
I thought it was interesting to see Canelo at the Japanese fight recently. He was there.
There you go.
Inoue's brother.
We say he's his own boss. He doesn't have to fight a Japanese fighter to fight in Japan.
But he can fight anybody over
there. You go.
And make a pile of money.
There you go. That's what I think he should do. I think he should fight in Japan against anybody. Doesn't matter who he fights.
I think Canelo for his next fight should look globally. Maybe he fights in Japan against, it could be William Skull. Like who knows? Or the UK. I think Chris Eubank has become an interesting opportunity. Eubank makes a little more sense. I think Eubank though we saw what happened after his win. Conor Benn got in the ring. It sure sounds like that fight's going to be made once again. So domestically for Eubank, that's a huge money fight. But if Canelo got interested at 168, I could see a Eubank fight over in the UK. But I think Canelo's got some more global options for his next fight than maybe domestic. Last one for you. From Everything Boxing, it's the Instagram account. Your thoughts on Bob Arum saying the Saudis will only do Riyadh season events in Riyadh moving forward. Now, we saw this past year, we had a great Riyadh season card in California that was headlined by Bud Crawford. An even better one over in the UK, Anthony Joshua against Danny Dubois. Bob Arum is out there saying now that it sounds like these Riyadh season events are only going to take place in Riyadh. How do you feel about that?
If they're putting up the money and the best are fighting the best, then I think every boxing fan should be thrilled. That's the good part. The bad part is, not everyone wants to fly to Saudi Arabia to watch these fights. But they're doing a great job of production. They're doing a hell of a job promoting. I mean, every time one of these fights gets announced, it's like a movie trailer comes out to promote the fight. So the promotion, the fights, we're getting the best fighting the best because the money's up there. So if it takes that for the fights to be simply and strategically just in Riyadh, I'm all for it if we're still getting the best. I don't care. I do not care. As a boxing fan, I don't care as long as we're getting the best fighting the best.
I think the super fights should continue to take place in Saudi Arabia because Turkey Al-Sheikh and the Saudis get them done, right? Like they say, we want this fight.
Done right.
I do think we can't forget the US and the UK markets and the media that comes with it, right? Like that's the one thing that's missing from a lot of these Saudi shows. You don't get the media exposure that you get at other shows. Like you're just not going to get a lot of US-based journalists flying to Saudi Arabia. You'll probably get more British-based journalists flying to Saudi, but it's just not the same thing. You're not gaining the same kind of traction. So absolutely. Riyadh season officially, I think, goes like October to February, March, something in that area. Do as many big events there as you can, but don't wait on these events. Don't wait to have all these big events over there. Have a lot in the US, in the UK, and continue to build your fighters that way. Like these Saudi events, these Riyadh season events, they should be like the prize. Like you like get to a certain point.
I see what you're saying, yeah. And then the playoff games or the regular season games should be somewhere else. I could see that, yeah.
So I think that's probably the best way to go. We're going to Saudi.
Absolutely, next month.
Have you told your wife you're going to be gone for a week?
Week and a half.
Week and a half. That's right, because right before then, we're at the Boots Ennis fight.
It's the kids.
What kind of deal with the devil are you going to have to make to get that week and a half off?
It's work, Mannix. It's work. I got to provide.
I know. Yes, you do have to provide. Yes. Are you and your wife going to go adjudicate that?
Philadelphia to Riyadh.
Yes. That quick hop.
Can't wait.